It's a beautiful day up here in the mountains. Got a few sun breaks here and there. We've had a few snow flurries here and there. But we're out doing a little bit of winter camping, and it's really a wonderful time to be out in the woods. It's quieter. There's just a stillness and peace that you're just not gonna find at other times in the year. But one of the things that really makes a winter camp, to me, very nice and comfortable is a good campfire. Processing up some wood and building yourself a nice warm fire. But hand in hand with that is a good cup of hot coffee. Now, the way I like to make my coffee is the Cowboy coffee method. It's very simple, doesn't require any special gear or anything like that. It just requires a vessel that you can put water in and boil water in, and coffee. And the coffee we're using here today is the Wrangler Roast from Expedition Joe out of Georgia. They contacted the channel, wanted to send me out some of their coffee. They know I like coffee, and they sent me a couple different ones. They sent me this Wrangler Roast and also their Appalachian Sunrise. And I've tried them both, and they're absolutely delicious. And I'm really excited, you know, because we've been chatting, and they're gonna partner with the channel, and we're gonna end up with our own Primal Outdoors branded coffee. So that's gonna be super exciting. But back to making coffee, the Cowboy coffee method. I really like this method, like I said, because it's just simple. Like I said, you don't have to carry any special gear with you to make this coffee. So what we're gonna do is show you guys how I go about making the Cowboy coffee here on the channel. You guys have watched me do it several times in many of my videos, but I thought we'd just really go through all the different steps and talk about what we're doing. And I figured, since we are making Cowboy coffee for this particular demonstration, you know, in the name of tradition, we'd actually make the coffee over the campfire. Typically, I'd make the coffee over my little stove right here, and you know, it just makes it a lot easier. But I thought for the, you know, just for this video, we'd go ahead and do it over the fire. So I've got a good fire going. So, and I've got my stove pot here full of water, and I've got it right about here is where I've got the water, because what I'm going to do first is bring this water up to a boil. And so what we're going to do is we're going to just grab a stick here, and we're going to move our fire around a little bit, and we'll just create a spot, and we'll put up our bail and everything, and we'll just set that pot right there. So what I'm going to do is just kind of get that boil, let it come up to a nice good boil, and then when it does that, we'll pull it off and we'll add our coffee. All right, so our coffee here, or our water, is starting to boil, so I'm just going to throw this glove on here, pull that off we'll go ahead and just pull it off the fire altogether. Now what I'm going to do here is I'm just going to, at this point, I just let the water stop boiling, and then I'm going to go ahead and grab up my coffee here. And we're getting a little wind, some wind gusts. Things are starting a little bit of storm coming in, it looks like, but hopefully you can hear me okay. So I'm just going to take my Wrangler Roast coffee here from Expedition Joe, and I'm just going to pour a little bit of coffee right into this measuring cup. Now, you don't have to use a measuring cup. A lot of times I just pour it right straight in, but this way I can kind of half make sure that I'm putting the same amount of coffee in. How much coffee you choose to put in is going to really depend on how much coffee you're making. I like mine a little bit strong, so I've got probably 2.5 tablespoons worth here. And I'm just going to pour that right up inside the coffee. Then I'm going to grab my spoon here, and I'm going to stir it right in. I like to stir it in really good. Make sure all that coffee goodness gets in there. I want to make sure that we get a good strong cup of coffee. I like my coffee fairly strong. So anyways, I'm going to stir that in real good. Now, there's a couple different options you have now. So I watched a video from Cowboy Kent Rollins. He's got a really good video on making Cowboy coffee, and I watched his video on it. And so I've recently changed how I do mine. I used to, at this point, I'd let it just steep like this, and then I'd move on to the next step, which I'll show you in a minute. But after watching Cowboy Kent Rollins' video on it, he talks about boiling the coffee so that you can boil the acidy flavor out of it. And I've been trying that for the past week or more, and I really do think it does help a lot. Kind of takes away that acidy taste that you get, or in that kind of in your gut where you can kind of feel like it's chewing up your gut a little bit. So what I'm gonna do now is I'm just gonna go ahead and put this back on the fire, just on some coals, and I just wanna get it to come back up to a boil. Not a real heavy boil, just you know, kind of a pretty gentle boil. I don't want it to boil too violently because a lot of times the coffee can just kind of froth over and just kind of make a mess. So I'm gonna put it back on there. And when we get it back up to kind of a good, gentle boil, I'll let it boil there for, I don't know, 15, maybe 20 seconds, and then I'll pull it off, and then I'll let it sit for a couple minutes and let it really steep. And, you know, like I said, just suck in all that coffee goodness. All right, so my coffee has come up to a roaring boil, so I'm gonna go ahead and pull it off the heat. Just let it kind of come over here and sit for a little bit. And while it's sitting and steeping for a minute, talk to you a little bit about how this method works here. So at this point, if I was just to pour this into my cup, I'd just have a cup full of grains, and it would be a really unpleasant cup of coffee. But the real trick to this is going to be, after we let this sit for a minute or two, I'm going to take this cup of cold water, and what I've got here is probably about a half cup of cold water, or half cup to 3/4 of a cup for the amount of coffee I have of just cold water. And we're gonna pour that onto the coffee, and through some magic of science, which I don't understand, I'll be quite honest, through some magic of science, it makes all the coffee grains just drop down to the bottom. And what you end up with is just pouring off the top, and you end up with completely ground-free coffee. That's just probably some of the best coffee that you'll ever have. So now that this is set like that, like I said, I'm just gonna take this water and I'm just gonna pour it in there a little bit. And I just kind of work it around. Just like that. Now I'll let that set for 30 seconds or so, let those grounds drop off, and we'll pour ourselves a cup of coffee. All right, so my coffee's been sitting here for a little bit. I'm pretty sure it's good to go. So this is an extra step. You don't really have to do this, but I like to have my coffee, kind of have coffee all through the morning. So what I do is I pour it off into a thermos. This is a drink tanks, actually a growler, but any type of thermos will work. So what I just do here is I'll just grab this, and I'm just gonna take and I'm just gonna pour off right off the top here. And so you can see it's pouring in there. There's no grains going in. It looks like good clear coffee. And I'm sorry about all this wind. I hope you guys aren't getting too much of this wind in the video, but anyhow. So now once I get it down, I don't want to pour all the water because then you will start to get grains. I want to pour it down to just the last little bit and leave just a touch of water still in there, and that's going to be where all the grains and the coffee are at. So now that I got poured in there, I like to, you know, I like to drink my coffee out of my hydro flask, so then I'll go ahead and pour myself a cup. Oh yeah, it smells fantastic. Man, I tell you what, this coffee from Appalachian Joe's, really good coffee. I'll be honest, I'm usually kind of a cheapskate when it comes to coffee, and I usually buy just the cheapest coffee that I can find at the store. But I tell you what, I have really been missing out because this coffee is just really good. It smells fantastic and a really good flavor. So anyways, there you go. That's how I make my Cowboy coffee. Absolutely fantastic, grain-free, Really doesn't require anything. Like I use a couple extra things here that you really don't need. But quite honestly, all you really need to make this again is a pot that can hold water, some water and coffee, and of course something to drink it out of. But anyhow, I hope you guys enjoyed this video. If you did, please give it a like. If this is the first video of mine you found, please check out the channel. Subscribe. If you guys like this type of content and you want to help support this type of creation, please check out the video at the end of this video on ways to support, and I'll see you guys again outside.